off the blindfolds. Back to your posts. What news?
The members of the provisional government present at headquarters have agreed to an unconditional surrender.
The surrender order from General Pierce carries no weight. He's in custody and was not a free man when he wrote this.
I will not accept orders from a prisoner.
With both General Pierce and Commandant Connolly under arrest, I am the next in command, and as such, the role of Commandant-in-Chief now devolves to me. Nobody else has any right to issue orders or enter into negotiations. I've nothing to say to this. Until I confer with General Lowe, the members of the provisional government, and the officers under my command. Give them that message. Lads, blindfolds.
I suppose the most interesting thing to say about Thomas MacDonagh is the interesting analogy between himself and Patrick Pearse, in that both of them had an English parent. As we know, Patrick Pearse had an English father, James Pearse, and Thomas MacDonagh had an English mother. Her name was Mary Burroughs Parker. That was her maiden name. She married Joseph MacDonagh in 1868. And we can say this is the kind of grit of sand in the oyster of identity, in a way, for both of these men. They both, from a very early age on, at the height of the Irish revival, had to ask themselves that very key question: who am I? What is it to be Irish, given this mixed background?
Tomás MacDonagh was born in Cloughjordan, County Tipperary, on the 1st of February 1878. He grew up in a household full of music, poetry and learning, and he was instilled with a love of both English and Irish culture from a young age.
Bhúntóirí a hismóirí Bert agus marialis an bhían bhéimear idzachas ina winter. Chó sé héna coloiste charige tobar agus bhí garm chrábe go bhí sólaige a bheith na hagart nó na bhráthir agus cha sé blianta a gol chun garm sin ach héis cúpla bíon hic sé nach féadach sé an saoil sin a dhéanna agus d'éire seas.
He abandoned a vocation for the priesthood, which at that stage in Irish life and Irish culture, remember, deeply pietistic Catholic culture, was quite a traumatic thing to do. With this came the stigma of being a spoiled priest, for instance. And very soon after, he published his first book of poems, Through the Ivory Gate, in 1902. So his major ambition was to be a poet and to become recognised as one of the great Irish poets in English of his era. Certainly a poet following in the footsteps of Yeats, to whom he dedicated his first book of poems in 1902. And Yeats writes back to him and writes encouragingly to him, and in a very key way, in a way that MacDonagh took very much to heart. He urged him to translate from Irish.
Deep in my Irish heart I grieve that I know not to sing my lays in Irish tongue, that here no Gaelic harp before thy feet I place with trusting gladness.
Bhí MacDonagh na bhúntóirí géal chuine agus bhí cruinneó ag Conradh na Gaeilge ar maile agus chó sé héin ag go grinne se le cara agus bhí sóla go ceap maga a dhéanach an rud hiúil si go mhór an spórte a bheith spacha faoin na Gaeilgeoirí seo ach nó a chó sé go grinneú nuair a chola sé méid a bhís de rá d'áthar sé go hiomlán.
I had been the greatest West Briton in Ireland, But my conversion to the Irish Ireland creed was as startling as the conversion of St. Paul. It was my baptism in nationalism. The Gaelic League is the precursor of a great movement, having for its object an Irish Ireland based on a spirit of self-reliance and self-respect. The national language is the nation's soul.
It was the year of the Celtic Dawn, and you had all these consciousness of being Irish associations like the GAA, the Gaelic League. Probably the Gaelic League was the most potent of them all because it spread through every county and town in Ireland. And with the heightened consciousness of being Irish, you know, there went an opening to the possibility of adding to Irish history, which the IRB played on. They joined all these organisations and they rose to positions of influence in them because they were very dedicated organisers and they gave time to it. So that, you know, the 2 or 3 IRB people in a local group, those 2 or 3 might very well be the people who ran it and directed its policy. And that's how, as these organisations proliferated, the power of the IRB grew. And there was networking, and they met each other, and they formed friendships, like MacDonagh, say, and Pearse. MacDonagh taught in Pearse's school, so that's probably where he rose in the ranks of the IRB, apart from any ability he had, because he wasn't noticeably a military figure.
Education should be about inspiring young minds. Theirs was about taming.
Pearse decided to set up St. Enda's in Dublin, a bilingual school for boys. And MacDonagh was offered a position by Pearse as a teacher in the school, a teacher of English and French.
Come on, Buckley.
This was a great opportunity for MacDonagh to come to the place where he knew the centre of literary activity in Ireland was. Remember, his core ambition here was to be a poet, a reckonable poet within Ireland. And what he wanted to be was he wanted to have himself in a position where he could get to know Yeats better. The other thing was that about 1904, he'd begun to write this play called When the Dawn Has Come, his first play. And he had been in correspondence with the Abbey, and the Abbey basically agreed to produce his play in November in 1908.
The Abbey Theatre was founded in 1904 by W.B. Yeats and Lady Gregory, and it played a central role in the Irish literary revival during the early decades of the 20th century.
Is féidir a rá gur bí sin an príomh instituid fré imperóil san tír seo fé cholínachas. Nóir léireach Kathleen na Houlihan a scrí Yeats agus an Van Tierna Gregory. Dúirt P.S. O'Hegarty, it was a sort of sacrament. Dúirt an Countess Markovich, it was a kind of gospel. Ach an náisiúnaí Stephen Gwynn, chuig sesin bháile agus dúirt, I went home asking myself if such plays should be produced unless people were willing to go out to shoot and be shot. Hiag sé tábhacht an drama sin, agus nói in Yarabáir nor a bhí Yeats a Queen of Shear, the chuir sé an cheist ar féin, did that play of mine send out certain men the English shot. Cai sé gur an hiúncar ag na drámaí sin, ní bháinar an lucht féachana, ach na lads óga a ghlach páirt mar aistóirí ionta, mar bhí go leor acu ran fórteach in san éirí amach. An céad fear a lábhach in san éirí amach, Sean Connolly, ba aistóir in Arkland na Manistrach. So bhealach ní rá in Arkland na Manistrach ach cinál rehearsal don bhíorrod.
He has worked more than we others. He has thought of plans and we have adopted them. But he is a poet always and changes in mood.
Dahi, Anawa, má fear. Mar dúirt Hamlet, for though speak the speech, I pray you, as 'tis written. Diggin' you lads. Mar hampla. But he is a poet always and changes moods, and is at times hard to understand. And he sees too many sides to every question. He thinks the very enemy's actions, all cruelties and tyrannies, can be defended in justice from their points of view. He is a philosopher more than a simple fighter for a single cause. Ítach, Nish, Dahi, Jennifer, Uruwan Ella, lads, good. Get ready for the dance and go on, good.
He has thought of plans and we have adopted them. Father John has called him the brains of our army, and he has thought for us all.
MacDonagh's play, When the Dawn Is Come, was staged at the Abbey Theatre in October 1908. It featured elements that would be mirrored on the streets of Dublin in a few years' time.
Sé an téamatá go dráma éirí amach a Harlians sa tóchaí in éireann. Agus tá an príomhcharachtar tá abhras ag daine marial gur fille agus scríneó ré agus gomíonn sé I bringlósaí ag aislingíocht seachas a ghuilim an gníomh ach deire fan daine amach go beisin an duine a dhéanans an beart an duine atá mai cheanara an troids. Béidir go bhfuil MacDonagh is smaoine bhfuil héin sa gá sin. A rud is eistí faoi go bhfuil an tairí amach gá chróró ag cóirle sa cheachtar agus sin ag go dtíreach an rud a Harloch in 1970.
Anwa, ma fear.
Is dócha gur raibh MacDonagh ghlacail le teorachaí an ama sin agus gur hiic sé dá mbeadh daoine sásta íberta dhéanamh ní amháin ar son na tíre ach ar son an tochaí when the dawn has come. Tá sé le déanamh go fóil, tá an gníomh fós le Corrigrí. Tá an tuiscin sin ag MacDonagh, tá sé ag an bírsach, tá sé a gach éon duine sa glúin sin, peachá a ghlacadar páirt in éirí amach nó ná ghlacadar.
Which reminds me of the day I received a letter from W.B. Yeats.
Oh. Yeats?
Absolutely. I was very excited. I sat in my study to peruse it.
In early 1910, Tomás MacDonagh answered an ad in the paper requesting the services of an Irish language teacher. His new student was Joseph Plunkett, and the two men would form a friendship that would last until the day they died.
Well, I thought that was outrageous, and I said, hell with it, I'll just publish and be damned.
Proper order.
I did indeed, absolutely.
They formed their own theatre company and also collaborated on a literary journal called the Irish Review. They married two sisters, Grace and Muriel Gifford.
Working with Tomás.
Well, yes, Joe is a man of many talents.
Very kind, Tomás, yes, yes. Yeah. I have certain.
Bhí MacDonagh siúlamach le ban Garbana Mary Maguire agus tír sé ire é a fósa agus dúilta sí a rá nach ra sé gur aon na fósa agus chlisear a gaidir atarb. Níos meas a fós sí den eile ní sin cara leis mar sin bhí andaím agus óir ach gearan í sin casamh Muriel Gifford agus fós siad san agus bhí sé thar sonna ina héal pásanta ón am sin amach.
MacDonagh and Muriel Gifford were married in January 1912, and their first child, Donagh, was born later that same year.
Now, my son, is life for you, and I wish you joy of it. Joy of power in all you do, deeper passion, better wit, more of every gift but love. Love I have beyond all men, love that now you share with me. What have I to wish you then but that you be good and free?
One of the things to understand about MacDonagh is that the earlier part of his life, up to about 1913, is a tale really of frustration and ultimate disillusion and disappointment with the ambition to become a recognised poet. His poetry, honestly assessed, as indeed it was both honestly and brutally assessed by some reviewers at the time, was not particularly good in the round. MacDonagh really began to realise that, the poetry wasn't working for him. He's going to have to find something else to do with his life other than write poetry. So a huge crisis arrives in his life. As doubts grew about his own literary capacities, he began to think to himself, well, if I don't make it as a poet, if I don't make it as a writer, if this could be a waste of my life, what is it that I will do with my life otherwise? And that became a question of what action, what thing could he do by way of effective action in life.
I shall do better than write. A man who is a mere author is nothing. The great opportunity is at hand. I have long regretted that I have not in my time had an opportunity of doing something worthwhile, and now it is here. I am going to live the things that I have before imagined.
Tomás MacDonagh came to Dublin in 1908 to pursue his dream of becoming a recognised poet while teaching in St Enda's School. But within a few years, he began to reassess his life and felt it was time for a change of scenery.
Ceapú MacDonagh mar léachtóir le litríocht i Gcoláiste na Hallscoile Blá Clia, agus ag an am céanna bhí Owen MacNeill mar Olaf le Stair sa Gcoláiste. Mar sin chuir siad aithne ar chéile agus ba chairde an mhóra iad, bach tábhacht le sin agus an tairi amach a gá phleanáil. Ach bhí siad fós bhí an bheirteach páirteach inimachtaí cultúir de chéile.
Cha sé go raibh idir gháil de haiségint, idir an glóiseacht cultúr agus an glóiseacht folitiúil. Ní dóilm gur tharla sin go dtí béidir 9 is 3 9 agus 4 tar éis don UVF an glóiseacht héin a bhunú. Nuair a chuir tús leis an UVF, tharla a lán rudaí eile dá bhar. Chuir agus gur bhunaigh an conílach an Citizen Army im Lá Clia agus go raibh daoine a rá nar leor cultúr as sin amach, go gaitheadh níos mó a dhéanamh, agóid folitiúil a dhéanamh.
The Irish Volunteers were launched at a public rally in November 1913, and Owen MacNeill was installed as Chief of Staff. Over 3,000 volunteers were recruited on that first evening, among them Patrick Pearse and Tomás MacDonagh.
Nuair a bunaigh bhóglaí na hÉireann in 1930, tháinig MacDonagh isteach, agus ba dhearg go ceapamh sin i gceannas ar bhrigáid á Clia go na hóglaí, agus bhí sé mar stúrtha tréanála ar an hóglaí a leog. Mar sin bhí ionad tábhachtacha aige in obair na nóglach.
It is worth living in Ireland as one of the directors of the Irish Volunteers. We have done more for our generation, thank God, than any of the men of the other periods did since the old clan times, more than the 98 men or Emmet. We are making the preparations. Ireland is all right, for I am confident we shall win this time. Through peace, I hope, but if necessary, by war.
The key word that strikes me when I think of what happened between the years 1912 and 1916 in Ireland is vertigo or vertiginous. There was a kind of speeding up of the historical process. We have to try and find a way of understanding how a mild-mannered, gentle, retiring teacher like Patrick Pearse and a lecturer in English in University College Dublin with everything to live for, like Tomás MacDonagh with a wife and 2 young children, how they ended up facing a firing squad. 4 years later, in 1916, how do we explain this? Well, these men were absolutely entranced with the role of being the soldier. And MacDonagh as well, his energies and his involvement in the volunteers was hugely exciting for him. I mean, here they were out marching, here they were acquiring and landing guns at Holt in 1914. And I think that this is part of the vertigo that leads into 1916. It's not necessarily premeditated where it's all going to end up, because the unravelling of events over this time is incredibly erratic. in August 1914, we get the outbreak of the Great War, we get the split in the volunteers. The majority of those volunteers go off with Redmond to fight in the fields of Flanders. Meanwhile, you have a small group of volunteers here in Dublin who, out of conscience, have said, we're staying to defend Ireland. And I think that set up a huge moral pressure, a kind of a heated compression on Irish life for nationalists in the period from 1914 to 1916.
Hogley! The Irishman who says he would prefer to be under German rule than under English rule is a slave. The Irishman who says he would prefer to be under English rule than under German rule is a slave. The Irishman who knows he should be under Irish rule and no other, he is capable of attaining freedom. Nish, gan mi dy rai. Yes!
The IRB were looking to rally support for the Republican cause, and in the summer of 1915 they got the opportunity they needed when the exiled Fenian Jeremiah O'Donovan Rossa died in New York. It was decided that his body would be shipped to Ireland and buried in Glasnevin Cemetery in a spectacular display of nationalist strength.
They have left us our Fenian dead, and while Ireland holds these graves, Ireland unfree shall never be at peace.
A committee was formed to take charge of the funeral arrangements. It included Arthur Griffith, Major John McBride, Ned Daly, and Damon de Valera. But it was overseen by the old Fenian Tom Clark, who personally selected Tomás MacDonagh as Commandant General of the Volunteers for the day of the funeral.
The burial of O'Donovan Rossa is the arrival home of a great patriot, a hero of Ireland, and it displays to the rest of the world a modern, emerging country, a brave new Ireland. Through this event, we are making a statement around the world. 3 words, gentlemen: discipline, vigilance, confidence. Good night, live.
Mrs. O'Donovan Rossa wrote to Tom Clark and said she would leave all of the arrangements for the funeral in his hands. And the day was a huge success. It was tour de force for the IRB. Huge demonstration, propaganda, symbolism, it was all there. And of course, it was filmed by a fellow called Jameson too. And his chain of cinemas provided good advertisement for the IRB and the movement. But another mention should be of Tom MacDonagh. He was the Grand Marshal of the day, and him and Clark worked together. And Clark found him to be a solid, reliable, well-organised, clever man. And he knew that this was a real demonstration of the abilities that he thought that he had, because Clark had this unerring gift to identify people who could be of use to the IRB.
Tom Clark had been manoeuvring the IRB and the Volunteers towards an insurrection for years. An IRB military council had been formed at the outbreak of the war, and by January 1916, the plans for a rising were in place.
Every member of what became the military council was a person who could keep a secret, almost up to the very end when they recruit MacDonagh. In a sense, they were lucky that they recruited MacDonagh onto the military council very late in the day, just before the rising, because MacDonagh was not a man who could keep a secret. MacDonagh is excitable. He's bursting with, I think, the secrets that he's trying to maintain, and then he startles people. One of his students recalls that they're sitting at a lecture given by MacDonagh, and suddenly MacDonagh pulls out a revolver, pitched on the table in front of him, and then sort of stares into the distance and says, you know, Ireland can never be free without the application of force.
Chuile hans gur hap MacDonagh gur rudakins siúl. Vís ag go leor daoine gur caint éirí amach, agus bhí ráflaí a chul timpeall measc ó na nóglach agus measc na dlóiseacht ag an am. Cinnach raon na cinsa faoi. Chuir ón MacNeill ceistéir go lua mí Aibreán ó bhfuil éirí amach a tarlú agus dúirt sé nach rá. Agus is cosúil gur freigra fírinneach a bhíon sin, go bhis chó ag an am sin, ní raon rud siúl. Is cosúil nach bhuair sé ólas faoin éirí amach go thomláin go dtí gur tugad bhar agosta míleta é cúpla seachtain in dhiaidh sin.
Ní dóil amach gur ráméis agus raflaí atá gceist ag na Mic-Léinn, Péidir.
Bhainte cínte.
Tá mé lán cínte. Tá mar cheachtar mar sin siúl cloising faoi.
Bhí an costa míleta ag ggéire go ditteach MacNeill isteach leis a bláin a bhí acu. Agus tharla go raibh MacDonagh cardúil le MacNeill, tharla go raibh muín ag MacNeill as. Is dóigh gur híal siad go gcuideach sesin leis an gcuid sin an phlean an chuid dhearannach sin a chuid is deacrobéidir a thuirt a grí. Ach faoi dhearanna seachtain a bhí sé soléir go gcuirigh MacNeill go gcuirigh sé an éirí amach agus chuir sé ardómach a d'ailte sé na nóchtán a rá leis na hóglaí go raibh chuileathirt chuire ar ceall.
So that's it. We can't go ahead now, can we?
Tomás, it's now or never. Casement is in custody. It's only a matter of time before they round the rest of us up. But all this means is that we have to delay the rising for 24 hours and issue fresh orders to clear up the confusion.
Confusion? And you want to issue more orders on top of these ones? No wonder the English think we're amateurs and fools.
And what about the rest of the country? Are we supposed to leave them to face the might of the British Empire with only pikes and flaming sods of turf?
The volunteers will fight with sticks and stones that they have to.
Tomás, even without the German arms, we must act now. The men are ready, and if we can hold out long enough for word to reach Germany, they may send a force to support us.
The Germans were never going to win this for us. When we go into fight, we fight alone.
What if we take the fight to the mountains and join up with the men of the West?
Pierce, you're going to fight in Dublin.
What exactly are you trying to say?
There'll be no more hiding in the mountains. We're fighting on the streets.
What are you saying? There's no
We are
hiding
going to
in the
fight on the
mountains.
streets.
It's been agreed.
I accept what you're saying, but what I'm saying is that the parameters have changed.
Enough!
We have to...
Enough! Gentlemen! Enough.
We should stick to our original plan. MacNeill's orders won't have got down to the country yet. If Dublin rises, the rest of the country will follow.
What about this?
Tomás, I remember the first day that you came into my shop and we got to talking. Before you left, you recited me a poem. Do you remember? Do you remember the words?
Far of mar a fórmheán a bheithh. Hún géir gramor. I sealig troda hain achtar an gáhfuil fearan mhór sinsear.
Better to be on the tops of the old bens, keeping watch. Short of sleep, yet gladsome. Urging the fight against the foreign soldiery that hold our father's land.
If thou hast consented that there be a New England named Ireland, to be ever in the grip of a foe, then to this isle we must bid farewell.
Tom, we're all aware of what's at stake, and we're all as committed to the cause as we ever were, but the fact is this: we must postpone the action for 24 hours to clear up this MacNeill mess!
The hell with MacNeill! I say that we strike immediately.
Gentlemen, as members of the Provisional Government, we are no longer obliged to abide by consensus. So we'll put it to a vote. All those in favour of staying with the original plan, Raise your arm.
Come on, lads.
All those in favor of postponing operations for 24 hours, raise your arm. We strike at noon tomorrow.
Very well. I'll draft up new orders and make sure they are distributed to the men of the western branches. Tomas, call off the Dublin battalions. We have to get word out that we're on hold for 24 hours. Tell the men to stand down, but to be ready.
What about MacNeil? Still needs to be taken care of.
Tomas, you'll talk to Owen. He'll listen to you. Bhí an costa mílta ag gur gun an tólas a ligan le Owen MacNeil faoin méid a bhí a tarló agus cuireadh MacDonagh amach leis an dalamuló go chuireir agus a rá leis nach ar éirí amachán le súlas nach féadach sesin éon wac go chuir leis. Ach scríomh MacDonagh nóta a rá gur hen méid seo déanta aige agus gur chiúil sé gur radólagas ar é dhéanamh. Agus scríomh sé nóta seo ní chuir sé géanana ach dag sé so gís gomach se le feiceáil iní a bháis. Is léir gur a chunsias a chuir isteachir nar hána sé leis gur míchróir a chuir ar a chara.
I have now, at 8 p.m, returned from a visit to Owen MacNeil at Woodtown Park, Ballyboden. I have had a long conversation with MacNeil and Sean Fitzgibbon upon many aspects of the present situation. They and my countrymen must judge me on my conduct. I have guarded secrets which I am bound to keep. I have, I think, acted honourably and favourably by all my associates. I have had only one motive in all my actions, namely, the good of my country. His songs were a little phrase of eternal song, drowned in the harping of lays more loud and long. His deed was a single word, called out alone in a night where no echo stirred to laughter or moan. But his song's new souls shall thrill the loud harps dumb, and his deed the echoes fill when the dawn is come.
On the morning of Easter Monday, Tomas MacDonagh assembled the 2nd Battalion of the Irish Volunteers on the west side of St Stephen's Green. At noon, he led around 150 men to Bishop Street, where they occupied Jacob's biscuit factory.
Hold on, keep them coming, lads. Take it down there a while. We need these well fortified.
On the way there, they met Major John McBride, who had not been made aware of the revised plans and was on his way to his brother's wedding. McBride decided to join the rebels, and he served as MacDonagh's second-in-command throughout the week.
The interesting thing about this group is that they probably had a quieter Easter week than most of the other battalions who were caught up in the fierceness of battle. They were kind of off to a margin. And there was very little action around this huge fortress of a place. I mean, they were very well defended and very well dug in.
Hocra arm na Breataine gur é sé bhádar ó chontóirsach a go lenacha leis an monacha. Má eala sin is beag a bhíle déana ag na rebeliúnaí san ionad sin I rinne seachtaine. Ní ra mór an na déana ag MacDonagh. Beidir nach raibh aige ceir ba chóir dhéanana ach bhí ordú tucaí aige monacha Jacob a gháil agus a chuineáil. Rinne sé é sin ach cha sé an chud is móg an teachtain díhaoin nach mór agus is dói gur raibh sé cinál deachar aige a fánachtain sin gunas aige ceirt go dtíreach a bhí tarlós a gcuid eilech an chathair ceir ba chear chó dhéanana.
We heard that German troops had landed at Wexford and were striking inland in thousands. 'Twas said the volunteers were fighting bitterly along the coastline to Cork, where the city was supposed to be out, like Dublin. Dublin Castle was on fire. The British were using explosive bullets and shooting prisoners. Buildings all over the city were being burned indiscriminately. Dublin was almost in ruins. Each rumour was more fantastic than the last. One contradicted the other. Everyone was confused. Nobody knew the true state of affairs.
Daly, Sullivan, bring provisions up to the College of Surgeons. Bring 2 bags each.
2 bags, right there. During the Rising, it's pretty clear that MacDonagh is living in his own fantasy world. He's issuing euphoric messages. The countryside's rising, they're marching in Dublin. Victory is very close at hand. And of course, at the end of the week, the reality sets in, and MacDonagh's fantasy world collapses, and he's sent hurtling back into the real world in a state, really, of effectively nervous collapse.
The surrender order from General Pearce carries no weight. He's in custody and was not a free man when he wrote this.
I will not accept orders from a prisoner.
With both General Pearce and Commandant Connolly under arrest, I am the next in command, and as such, the role of Commandant-in-Chief now devolves to me.
Nuair fuair MacDonagh an scéal seo ó heachtra, chuir sé aon air. Dar leis féin go bhfuil sé leanach ar éipís eile. Bhí si tain I mánach Jacob láidir go maith, ní ré an nonsaí orb. Thóg sé tamil air, chuaigh sé chun cainsa le FG arb na Breataine ach ar deire ghlac sé leis go raibh sé nám géile.
In a sense, he spent this very quiet week when he hasn't been in the thick of the fighting, so to speak, and now he's been called upon to surrender. I think that must have been hugely disconcerting for MacDonagh, who expected perhaps to play, a much more direct combat role in 1916. And that, in a way, I think adds to the trauma of those last days for MacDonagh.
Yeah, but we're not going to give up and get shot, are we? You're going, yeah.
The surrender will commence at midday tomorrow.
I can't believe this.
The decision to surrender is not my own. I am only following the orders of the President of the Provisional Government. Lads, we fought a good fight. We held out for one glorious week. We achieved what we set out to accomplish. We have to surrender, but we have succeeded in establishing the Irish Republic according to international law by holding out for a week. I have assurances that nobody will be shot. I know I will be shot. But you will all be treated as prisoners.
I heard they were shooting people up beyond Kilmainham.
Those of you in civilian clothes, go home. Those in uniform, stay on. You can't leave if you're in uniform.
On Sunday afternoon, MacDonagh marched what remained of the 2nd Battalion to St. Patrick's Cathedral. It was there, in the park, that he surrendered to General Lowe. 2 days later, he was tried by court-martial and sentenced to be executed.
Ochra an chórs arm MacDonagh chur chun báis agus bhí sé Na chéad daoine a chuir chun báis agus bhí súil aige go mag sean ag a bhean eáil sulgurfií chun báis é ach má dheall gur siise ina théhheilech an chathair ní sin an na prísan na bhaint amach.
I am to die at dawn. I am ready to die, and I thank God that I die in so holy a cause. For myself, I have no regret. The one bitterness that death has for me is the separation it brings from my beloved wife, Muriel, and my beloved children, Donna and Barbara. It breaks my heart to think that I shall never see my children again. But I have not wept or mourned. I counted the cost of this and am ready to pay it. Muriel has been sent for here. I do not know if she can come. She may have no one to take the children while she is coming. If she does.
Minstrel boy, to the war is gone. In the ranks of death you will find him. His father's sword he hath girded on, and his wild heart slunk behind him.
My dearest love, Muriel. Thank you a million times for all you have been to me. I have only one trouble in leaving life. Leaving you so. Be brave, darling. But for your suffering, this would be all joy and glory. Goodbye. Your loving husband, Thomas MacDonagh.